Kenna. All right, 5 minutes before the bottom of the hour. In 2012, Lance Corporal Greg Buckley Jr. celebrated his 21st birthday in Afghanistan. He wanted to come home to drink his first legal beer with his dad. But neither dad nor son got to share that beer because soon after, Corporal Buckley was shot and killed in cold blood by one of his so-called Afghan allies.
He went over there. He did what you asked him to do. And the people he was training and helping over there, they turned on him. They turned on him. And he told me weeks ago, Dad, they're shady. I don't want to be here.
Wow. From there, his father's heartbreak only got worse. Not only was Corporal Buckley's killer let off with a slap on the wrist, 7.5 years in prison, now his family believes the Marines are trying to cover the whole thing up. Not only did they kill Greg, but also Sergeant Scott Dickinson and Richard Rivera Jr. Welcome now to the show, Greg Buckley Sr., the father of Lance Corporal Greg Buckley Jr., and his attorney, Michael Bowe. They both join us. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
So sad for the loss. We went over this a month ago, and you said if we don't get some answers from the Marine Corps, we're suing.
Yes.
And now, Greg, you're suing. Why?
I just need the answers so we can have closure with my son's death, and it's just been one lie after another.
Right. He was working out with two of his guys. They had a couple of days left before they go. And this guy was allowed on the base, this unpronounceable Afghan name. And he turns around and he shoots all three of them. And
Yes.
afterwards, what did he say?
He did it for jihad.
He did it for jihad. Yeah. So he's a minor, Michael Bowe, and so he gets 7.5 years in prison. You weren't even informed he was being tried.
Right. The family was promised. The family doesn't believe he was a minor. They were originally told that he was not a minor according to medical tests that were done, and they were promised that they'd be kept informed of the trial. And then without telling them at all, he was indicted as a minor, tried as a minor, and they weren't even told, and he was sentenced as a minor. And all of that goes back to the Marine Corps' just abject failure to keep this Gold Star family informed of both the facts and circumstances of the murder and the prosecution.
And why does it matter so much how? You know, we know it's a tragedy, and the Marines obviously screwed up, as you chronicle in this suit, which has been filed in eastern New York yesterday, against the General, the Marines, the Navy, and the Navy Investigative Services. Why does it matter so much that you're part of this trial and this is transparent, Greg?
Problem here is that they were well aware of this 17 days prior to the murder of execution of my son. They were warned by Jason Bresler that this would happen. And
who's Jason Bresler?
He's one of the Marines that they contacted about Salwar Jan, and he sent them over all the documents that he had on him to say that he's a bad person and he can bring harm to these Marines that are in his base. And they choose not to remove him from the base. They left him on the base, and his T-boy is the one that he gave an AK-47 to that went into the gym and executed my son and two other Marines. And
despicably, this guy was this police chief was traveling like a harem of boys on the base. And these guys are clearly dangerous. And this happens. What I find so disturbing, Michael, is the Marines don't want to get to the bottom of this because we know if it's a heroic situation, the Marines will tell you about it. But what you're finding in your investigation, if it makes them look bad, they're not transparent about it.
Correct. I mean, look, under Title 10, the Marines have an unequivocal obligation to disclose all the facts and circumstances to this Gold Scar family of the death. But in this case, they had a police chief on there who was notorious for being corrupt, for extorting the populace, for collaborating with the Taliban, and for engaging in this bakabazi, which was basically the keeping of these young boys as sex slaves. And despite knowledge of that, they allowed him on this base. They forced these young Marines, including Greg Jr., to work with them, to live in the same quarters with them. And then when Jason Bresler, a Marine Major, who had previously expelled that police chief from another base, sent a warning to them that this guy was a danger, they ignored it for 17 days, and that led to the murder. And they don't want that to get out.
And you want this for all the Gold Star families that don't have answers, and it matters how they died, right?
Most definitely.
So the next step, you filed, you're going to wait for a date, and you're going to wait for the government to respond, right?
Correct. We'll serve them with the papers, and then hopefully they'll do the right thing. This family's been waiting for 2.5 years. It's a sad day when they have to sue the Marine Corps.
And they're messing with the wrong family when they mess with Buckley's, and you're doing this gratis, and I think it's great. Greg Buckley, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for your son's service. And Michael, thanks for coming in.